Let me tell you a story about children who missed humanity. There is a comforting belief most of us carry without ever examining it, that being human is automatic. That if a child is born with a human body, a human mind will inevitably bloom inside it. Language, empathy, morality, selfhood, consciousness, all of it will come as if by divine right automatically. But the stories of feral children shatter this belief completely. They tell us something far more disturbing, that humanity is not guaranteed. In the early 1920s, in a dense forest near Midnapore in Bengal, villagers spoke of something unnatural. At night, they said, shadows moved on all fours, not animals, but something else, something wrong. Eyes that reflected firelight too brightly, shapes that fled instead of hunted. A missionary named Joseph Singh followed them. What he found inside a wolf's den was not mythology. It was two girls. One was small, perhaps 2 years old. She died soon after rescue, her body too fragile for any world at all. And the other was Kamala. She was older, around 8 years old, naked and scarred. Her limbs were bent and hardened in strange ways. She ran on all four legs with terrifying speed. Her jaws snapped. She howled at night. She recoiled in pain at sunlight. Cooked food made her retch. Human touch made her scream. She was a human, but a wolf. She did not cry like a child. She did not look into faces. She did not recognize herself as a self. She was not pretending to be a wolf. She was one, neurologically, behaviorally, and psychologically. The people who cared for her tried everything. They spoke to her, they fed her, they dressed her, they loved her, and slowly, painfully slowly, cracks began to appear. She learned a handful of words, not sentences, just words: mother, water, Amla, etc. The name of the sister that she lost. She began to weep, she formed attachments, and then something even crueler, she began to grieve. Her emotional awakening came only after her sister died. That grief cracked her open. For the first time, she clung to humans. For the first time, she seemed afraid of being alone. And that is perhaps the most tragic part. Because by the time she became human enough to suffer like us, her body was already dying. Tuberculosis took her life at 17. She died not as a wolf, she died as a human who arrived too late. Kamala was not unique. History records dozens of such children, raised among wolves, dogs, monkeys, even in isolation without animals at all. And the pattern is always the same. If a child misses a certain window, roughly for the first 5 to 7 years, something irreversible happens. Language never fully develops. Abstract thought never stabilizes. The sense of I never crystallizes. Empathy remains shallow or absent. Neuroscience now confirms what these stories scream. The human brain is not finished at birth. It is a lump of clay. It is expectant and expects language, faces, touch, and culture. Without these, entire neural networks simply never wire up. The brain does not wait, it reallocates. Survival circuits dominate. Sensory motor pathways harden. Plasticity closes like a door locking itself. No later love, education, God, or therapy can fully reopen it. This is not cruelty, it's simply biology. And here is where the story stops being about Kamala. It becomes about us. What does this say about consciousness, about the soul, about free will, about the idea that humans possess some intrinsic divine mental essence? If consciousness were something separate from the body, a soul injected at birth, then Kamala should have spoken, reasoned, reflected, and recognized herself. But she didn't do that. Her consciousness was not missing, it was different, structured by a different world. Her mind mirrored her environment the way water mirrors its container. This is why many philosophers said that the limits of language mean the limits of world. Kamala's world had no symbols, no narratives, no abstractions, so her consciousness never developed those dimensions. She lived, perceived, feared, bonded, suffered, but not humanly. This is why these stories disturb us so deeply. They suggest that consciousness is not fixed, humanity is not guaranteed, morality is learned, not innate, and identity is constructed, not discovered. They suggest that we are far closer to animals than we like to admit, and that culture is fragile, learned, and contingent, and it lifts us into strange realm we call human. Remove it early enough, and we do not rise. We fall sideways. And perhaps the most terrifying implication is this. If Kamala had been born into our homes, she would have written poems, fallen in love, questioned God, feared death, just like us. If you had been born into her forest, you would have howled at the moon. No soul would have saved you. No intelligence would have emerged by force of will. Your brain would have done exactly what hers did: adapt. These stories do not prove that life is meaningless. They prove something harder: that meaning is made, not given, that consciousness is emergent, not magical, that humanity is a narrow bridge suspended over vast animal darkness, and most of what keeps us is on luck, which may be why these stories haunt us, because they whisper something unbearable: that we are not chosen, we are not special, we are contingent, and yet somehow we care. Thank you so much for listening, and do subscribe to The Nerd.